Hi everybody, welcome back. Shane here. Today we're fixing some water damaged ceiling and cove and a wall. And the wall's not actually damaged from water; it's damaged from age and a thermal issue. But I sort of wrapped it all up into this one heading. And here's the ceiling. Somebody else had attempted a repair, and they did a pretty ugly job at cutting out the old plaster, got into the cove, the paint is peeling, and they attempted to tape in a chunk of drywall to the existing plaster, and guaranteed that was going to fail. Taping using drywall methods and plastering methods together just don't jive. Although, as we move forward, you're going to see that we actually do use drywall to help us repair plaster. But our techniques when it comes to finishing and bonding those two different elements together are different than your typical drywall methods. So we were just determining how much of the wall to take out. We didn't have to take out the whole wall, but we did take out probably a good 70% of it. And I do, we do every job in the same order, where we mask and cover. We're, never start anything until we get everything protected. We use canvas to protect the floor, and then we use black tarp on top, or any sort of tarp, I should say, to protect the canvas. We don't want to get our canvas all dirty. We want to keep those as clean as possible. The goal of these videos, and I know I don't make a lot of them. I haven't made one for quite a while, but I don't want to just make just a ton of videos that don't give you full or good information. The videos, I know this one's going to be about 45 minutes long, but the truth is, we did this repair over 3 days, so I've really condensed this into just less than an hour, and even at that, I don't want you to see just all the good stuff. I want you to see the good, the bad, the ugly, and how we resolve problems that we run across. I don't want movie magic to come in and just pretend everything is hunky-dory, because it never is. Every single job, we just we have mistake after mistake after mistake, and that's just the way it goes. And you need to accept that and learn how to resolve those problems, instead of trying to beat yourself up over making mistakes, because, well, I hate to break it to you, it's never going to end. And I think you'd be a happier contractor, a happier drywall guy, a happier homeowner, just kind of understanding that problems happen. So if you notice, we're installing this plastic over top of the door, and Bennett is taped it on, and then he's cut a big slit into it, and you're probably wondering, what the heck is he doing? He just put this plastic up and now he's cutting it. But we're going to put another layer of plastic over top, and this is just sort of going to be like a curtain, a shower curtain, basically, on the outside of it, and that's going to help the dust stay inside and allow us to go back and forth. And this is probably just the simplest form of dust control. The other passageway, we sealed it off 100%. Now we're just assessing. This is our first assessment. We don't actually know how this is going to be repaired yet. We need to start digging in. I have I guess I'm prepared to do a certain type of repair to it. But I'm just not assuming, and I'm not going to assume that until we take it off. So now we discover we have this big bump between the existing plasterwork and the chunk of drywall, and that bump is from the tape. That bump is from just things weren't sized properly, and so we are going to take this board off, and I'm glad we did. And you're going to see why in a minute here. So if you notice me pounding on the ceiling there with the axe of my hammer, that was just to reveal the screws, just to make them a little easier to find so we could pull them out. And so now we pull this sheet of drywall out, and we discover that there's a sheet of plywood in behind, full of screws. So we're going to pull that baby out and see what happens. Again, I know these videos might seem long, but you do have a fast forward. You could fast forward through a lot of it. We'll put some timestamps on it. That maybe you could, if you just want a refresher on, skim coating or whatever the case is, you can just maybe quickly get to that. And now we see the wood lath underneath. And and so there is a big bump all the way around the perimeter of this, and it's from loose plaster that's still falling. And so Robert is just going to go around, axe it out, take that bad stuff down, pull nails, get it all prepped. We're skipping right to the wall. And this wall, it's failing from age and thermal, hot and cold, because I can promise you that this wall didn't have insulation in it at one time. And this is all the blow-in that you're seeing now. So they're gonna pop that off. And so let's just get back to that ceiling just real quick. The reason why Robert is going around taking off about another 8 inches around the perimeter is just because my intention is to furrow out that hole and put drywall right over top of the whole thing. So we want it as flat as possible. I don't want any bumps. I want to make sure that when we're done, our new ceiling is nice and straight and no waves to it, just like a brand new ceiling. That's and doing this kind of work, I say brand new, it's never going to be like brand new again. That's also something you need to accept. There's always going to be little glitches here and there, but we want to do a good job. So if you notice right there, it says first cleanup, and that's because we clean up many times throughout the process of a job. I would never, and neither would Robert or Bennett or whoever's on this project, neither would they just leave the mess and work over top of it. What an awful way to work. So we clean up every single job. So we are working in a nice, clear sailing environment. Nobody's stepping on a chunk of something to sprain an ankle or whatever the case is. And I don't like working off of a dirty surface. And I know that we're going to cover this surface in a couple of seconds here, but we want it nice and clean and no chunkies. Here's Robert starting to lay out the floor joists above, and they are every 16 on center. So we found that was easy to find because we took the plywood off, and we're going to start chalking this up. And the reason why we're putting a chalk line all the way across is just to make sure that it could be a little bit deceiving once we start putting screws through this plaster. It could, and maybe it's catching some wood lath behind, and it feels like it's structurally sound, but really it's not unless you get it into the floor joist up above. So we want to make sure we get the floor joists. And this is a big hole because there's multiple ceilings up. So normally, if I saw more than one ceiling up, I would just demo this whole ceiling. But the second ceiling that was applied, they put all this effort into this cove and this cove step. And so we didn't really want to get into that. So we are going to put yet another ceiling over top. And we're using ultralight drywall to do that with. We're not going to use any plaster work. So that hole is 1.5 inches deep. So this is 1/2 inch plywood. So this is the very same plywood that we just took out of that repair, by the way. I don't have any problem repurposing some things as long as it's in good condition. And this plywood's in great condition. So we tripled it up to give us our 1.5 inches. And Robert's just putting in just a couple of screws. It's not you don't need you don't need to make this like a bomb shelter, because our drywall, when we put our drywall up, it's we're going to be using 3-inch drywall screws that are going to go through the drywall, through 1.5 inches of plaster work, through 3/8 of wood lath, and then into the floor joist above. So definitely we needed 3-inch drywall screws on this one. And it's not easy putting a drywall screw through 1.5 inches of plaster, because if you could imagine, if you have a plaster home, you have a cement home, and you're putting those screws through a cement surface, and it there are some techniques to it. You can't just put that screw in. Maybe you're using a screw gun or using, drills that we're using. We're using drills with bits on them, because then we can control the speed. And if you were to put that screw in spinning fast, it would wreck the drywall before it got down through the plaster and into the framing, because it's just spinning too fast and creating a problem on the drywall side. So you need to drill that every single screw in slowly and with lots of pressure, and there, see how slow that is. And I'm sorry, and Bennett there, he's going into wood, but wait until you start going through the plaster. There, so that was going through plaster. You can see once you hit it just doesn't want to go through. I mean, it's hard stuff, but some elbow grease and some sweat, and you get it. And you're also going to notice that when we get to the perimeter of this, so my intention is to reverse the step of this cove. And when we get to the perimeter, we're staying away 1/8 of an inch around the entire cove step, so we can put in half bead. Basically, we're not using half beads on this, but we're going to use corner beads and cut them down, and we'll show you that in a second. So we could have fixed this wall a few different ways. We've decided to use drywall on this wall, and we're not using 1/2 inch drywall. We're not using 5/8. We're using 3/8 drywall, because 3/8 drywall is the same thickness as that 3/8 plasterwork that we removed. So we have that over top of the 3/8 wood lath, which gives us our 3/4 inch wall. I'm not afraid to use drywall on these repairs. Drywall is a good surface to work on top of. It's the bonding the two elements together that there's some trick to it, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. But this is the ceiling, the cove. So now here we have that wall that we didn't remove, our new wall, which is the drywall. And Robert is applying in a cement bonding adhesive. And this is polyvinyl acetate, PVA. In the States, they have Larson's Plaster Weld. They have some different products, USG plaster bonder. We are working on developing our own plaster bonding and cement bonding adhesive. Hopefully that'll be done in about a year, and we'll bring that to the market. But in the meantime, we're using Quickcrete cement bonding adhesive and getting it thoroughly into that 1/2 inch gap that's all around the perimeter. And then and when I mean thoroughly, I mean thoroughly. We are going to glue this Durabond 90 into that gap. So we mixed Durabond 90. Durabond 90 is a high dense compound. Drywall compound is not a high dense compound. That's a low dense compound. So we want to make sure that we're using Durabond 90 typesetting compound, not 90-minute fast setting compound. There's a difference. They both set in 90 minutes, but Durabond 90 typesetting compound is the high dense material that you need, because I don't plan on using any tape, not for the bonding of the drywall to the plaster. We're going to leave that tapeless, and we're just going to glue the elements together. We will use some tape to bond the drywall joints together, but not here. So we're going to fill that right up, and it's got to be full, right against the board and right against the plaster. No air bubbles, no gaps, no nothing. It's going to be just solid. It's going to be stuck to the wood lath because we have that adhesive on the wood lath. It's going to be stuck to the new plaster. It's going to be stuck to the drywall. Bennett's going to just take his time and just keep filling and filling and filling until that thing is just chock full. Now here we're using some fiberfuse, and fiberfuse is not like fiberglass. Fiberglass drywall tape is looks like a screen. Fiberfuse looks like a spider web, and the fiberfuse is well, we don't use the fiberglass very often. We like using the fiberfuse because the material merges right through that fiberglass tape, the fiberfuse, and it just really becomes permanently bonded to this drywall. Doing some flat taping, so we're also taping around the trim. And we're going to embed that there, and you can see the Durabond 90. And again, we're doing everything. Everything is using this Durabond 90. That's we're setting the stage for a real strong repair. If you're a homeowner and have never done this kind of work before, I think you could really struggle with the Durabond 90 because it gets really hard. And if you need to sand any of it, you can. I wouldn't want to sand it. That's a little more work than I like to do. But it doesn't sand like drywall compound. And so now we're going to tape the inside corner. So now we are using tape into the existing plaster because it's an inside corner, and we're using plenty of adhesive. Even on that corner, we're not skipping that glue. We go through a lot of adhesive. The angle of Robert's knife. If his knife were straight up and down, he would cut the fiberglass on the inside, and if you did that defeats the purpose. So just a slight angle, and keeps that inside corner of the knife away from the fiberfuse. And now they're getting that ceiling taped in, those flat joints. Again, we probably don't have to use Durabond 90 on these ceilings, but we got it out, and we're gonna do it. But if I were a rookie, I probably wouldn't be using Durabond 90 on those joints anyways. That might be a little challenging for you. And then we're going to get into the beads after this is all taped up. And you could use two things to bead out the perimeter of the ceiling. And you certainly can't just leave it raw. That would look pretty poor. But you can use a half bead, and they're beads specifically, like that are in the shape of an L to finish a raw edge, or sheetrock makes their corner beads, their paper corner beads. If you look at the metal side of it, you'll notice that one side of the metal is wider than the other side of the metal. And so we use the small side of the metal and just take our knife and slide that tape off, cutting it, making our own half bead. And the only reason why we're doing that is just because we didn't have any half beads on that trailer today, but we had a ton of regular paper beads. So now they're just filling up everything. I'm not worried about the cove. Oh, look how ugly that big cove gap was. We're going to get to that in a second, but we're taping this on with Durabond 90. I do miter the corners when we get there, cutting about a 45-degree angle. So now we're just fitting that bead into, this is the reason why we needed that 1/8 gap around the perimeter, because we want the metal of the bead to go in between the drywall and the cove step, and then we're going to push it towards the cove step. We're not going to push it towards the drywall. We want that bead touching the plaster cove. Here, this is where the previous repair person decided to use probably a Sawzall, I'm guessing, to just cut this old ceiling out, but they just dug into the cove and just made a big mess of it. So we need to rebuild that edge of the cove, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do that pretty simply. Look how big that gap is. So again, I am just forcing just a ton of Durabond 90 into this. Whatever I do, I want it to be solid. I don't want any risk of failure. This is we're being paid, and we're being paid well to fix the ceiling. So we want to make sure that our customer feels good about hiring us, and we produce a product that lasts for many years to come. There, just get it right in there. We've made a few batches of the Durabond 90 at this point. This is not all the same batch. You got to make sure the 90's fresh with the beads. We don't want to be using any product that's half set up. Now we're installing this new half bead. It was a corner bead. We cut it down. We made it a half bead. And Robert is getting it in to follow the line on the cove step on the side that's good. And I'm going to mimic it on the side that's missing. And so we are just basically going to make this shape and keep it symmetrical with that whole side. And you can see how we're reversing that step now. So that bead is not touching the drywall. It's probably a good half-inch away from the drywall. Maybe even more than a half-inch. And then I'm just gonna take my time. I'm gonna shape this up. This is not an easy task. No sense in thinking you can rush through it. Again, if you can imagine, this ceiling took us 3 days. Day 1 was just preparation, demo, getting the drywall hung. We didn't do any mud work the first day. This is day 2. And again, still using Durabond 90. We're making sure that this thing, you see how I cleaned the bead off there? We don't want any of that stuff lingering. That makes for a really challenging sand job later. So now we're using sheetrock 20. And if you look at my trowel, there's a couple of things here, but look at my trowel, you notice that I have our new wall is just a little bit smaller, thinner, like that drywall than the existing plaster. So we don't want that. We're gonna skim coat this whole thing. I'm gonna put about a good 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch, probably 1/16 of an inch on the whole thing using sheetrock 20. So this is unlike Durabond 90. This would be maybe a mid-dense to a lighter dense compound, and it is a drywall compound. But this is what we're using to as a base coat, basically. It's going to set up really quick. If you notice we had an image of sheetrock 20 come up in that green bag, but on the floor, it's a red bag of 20, and that's another brand. That's Certainteed 20-minute setting compounds. And both are fine. Both work great. Just our preference is sheetrock 20, but here we actually used the Certainteed 20, and it was just as fine. So I guess habits. And if you notice, using my pool trowel, and I'll definitely get some comments in my comments, negative comments, lots of negative comments about, using a pool trowel and how we're doing things. Well, that's, I'm glad that you guys can do it better than me. But I'm the one here, I'm the one doing it, and I'm choosing to use a pool trowel because I like it. And it works great. And it's a pool trowel is great for beginners. It's very forgiving, and it does a great job. So again, we're just coating this whole wall. So my intention is to coat this wall once with this 20-minute setting compound, and then a coat of regular old drywall compound at the very end, just to fill all the imperfections. And so it's all gonna go pretty quick. So if you don't have the experience that I have, then I wouldn't be using sheetrock 20. I would use sheetrock 45 or sheetrock 90, which again is not like Durabond 90. Sheetrock 90 is just like sheetrock 20, only it sets in 90 minutes, approximately. So just use the compound that you're comfortable applying. And me, I'm a pretty impatient guy. I don't want to wait. Where time is money, right? This is our business. So I was just showing you that this is a crown trowel that I'm using, or a drywall trowel, and I'm using the 20. Pardon me. And I'm just using that crown trowel to fill up those flat joints. At this point, the 90 is completely set. It's not dry, but it's set. Now I'm back to my pool trowel. Gonna fill up all the beads all the way around. A little bubble there. I don't know if you caught that. All right, well, there we go. I pointed it out. Not enough mud behind that bead. So you can't leave it. That's so I'm going to fill it up, press it back down, and get rid of that bubble. Yeah, no chunkies allowed. Chunkies are the enemy of a finisher. So now that 20 is hard. This is 20-30 minutes later. And this process, we call it gagging. I'm not sure if that's actually the professional term or not, but that's the term we use. And just basically burnishing the wall, scraping, getting rid of the hard lines, the tool marks. Making it nice and flat. And then this is just regular old drywall compound. So I'm doing an inside corner there. I would have to say that most people should be using a corner tool to do that. I just use my knife. I guess I'm a little more skillful, but a corner tool probably is what I should have used, just to show everybody how to use that. And I'm just coating using this all-purpose light drywall compound by CGC. It wouldn't matter what type of compound is a drywall compound that I used. And all this is doing is just filling in little imperfections. And I am going right over top of the plaster, which has adhesive on it, by the way. Even with the drywall compound, we don't want anything that I wouldn't coat anything that didn't have the PVA on it. I just want to make sure everything sticks, nothing flakes off. And and the other thing to consider is we are working over top of a painted surface. We're not working over top of bare lime. This cove has been painted. The wall is painted. It's purple there. So we are working over top of latex paint, actually. So the drywall compound will most definitely stick to the latex paint. But drywall compound over top of lime, over top of the bare stuff, I wouldn't risk it. Maybe it'll stick sometimes, but in many cases, it'll just, you think it's sticking, and then a year later it just flakes off. Same with applying drywall compound over top of oil paint. It'll could potentially just flake off. So we don't even risk it. So now we're at day 3, and day 3 is all the work was done. We coated this whole thing in one day, where we didn't come back making several trips. And the fellows here, they're just gonna run some sander over it and make sure things are nice and smooth and no tool marks. It's amazing how much dust sand, how much material comes off with that pole sander. That's a pole sander from Columbia Tools, by the way, just in case somebody wanted to know. That's my preferred anything automatic or machine taping tools. They are all Columbia tools. I guess I'm a sucker for good packaging. I love the look of those of their tools. So we just went around. So this was not part of the job, but they're painting. So we just went around, just sort of trying to improve their existing walls on the other, nail holes, just little glitches here and there, just to make their overall paint job look a little nicer when they're done. You're probably going to spend, I'm glad Robert's wearing his mask there. Yeah, I would not be sanding without an N95 on my face. You don't want to be breathing in this dust. And so if you notice, Bennett is even sanding the trim, and he's going to sand down all that trim, get any drywall compound or material right off of that. There's that inside corner that we coated. My mentor, Greg, who I love, and I think he's great. Very rarely wore a mask, and I can't tell you how many times he since I've known him, he's had pneumonia. So Greg, wear your mask, buddy. Save a lot of grief. And they went over everything with that sand pole, but now they're just using blocks to detail everything, make it all nice and clean and crisp, and any sort of touch-ups, right? So they have headlamps and lights, and we typically would shine that down the surface and look for anything, and there we use that polyfilla. I do like using the tub of polyfilla for touch-ups because it's whipped and it's light and very, very low shrinkage, if any. But any sort of spackling compound would have been just fine. And spackling compounds because they dry fast and we can continue with the repair without having to come back another day. We don't leave any job without sealing it first, and we're going to be doing that today as well. But if we used, say, drywall compound to do this, which we could have, we wouldn't be sealing it today. We would have to wait until the following day until it's dry. And so just any little glitch. And, we did this project pretty quick, right? And the faster you do something, the more risk you have for glitches. But we're back to, time is money, and I don't want to wait for anything. So here, this is a Sherwin Williams product, Promar 200. And this is what we're going to prime the walls with. And you notice how that step is reversed. And when we're done painting this right now, you can't see any gap, no cracks, nothing like that. But I can promise you that in a couple of months' time, there will be a hairline crack between the new reversed cove step to the existing cove. So when we're done priming, we're going to run a bead of caulking in between our new cove step to the existing cove, and then that will eliminate that hairline crack that will occur. Also, when it comes to priming or sealing, no fooling around. We use a nice thorough coat. I mean, we don't want to put too much product on to make it clumpy, but we don't leave. But it's a thorough paint job, basically. All our tools are Purdy and Sherwin-Williams. This is our preferred paints, our preferred tools. I feel like Purdy makes, in my opinion, the best tools out there that I've used, and I've used a lot. That's paint tools, that is. But to tell the truth, even their taping knives are very nice. Everything's shaping up well. And that's looking like a pretty nice ceiling. And they got some caulking, getting a nice bead in there. And I know there's going to be a lot of comments in the comment section about how, everybody can do caulking better than Robert here, but you might as well just save yourself the energy. I had somebody working with us one time. His name was Al, and Al's a great guy. Not with us anymore, but Al was a musician, and he said, doing this kind of work is like playing live music. Only two things matter, and that's how you start and how you finish. And you can make all the mistakes you want in between the set, just as long as you finish on a good note. And that's exactly what happens on every one of our jobs. I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm not saying we're the best. I'm not saying anything. But I am saying that when we're done, it's going to look just fantastic, and probably better than most people. But getting all this vacuumed up. This is our final clean. Everything is done. Here's our ceiling. And just getting back to cleaning. When we clean, we clean. Like, we clean that floor. We're not leaving. We're not leaving our customer with, they're not going to have to go behind us and do any dusting or anything like that. There's our wall, and that's it. There you have it. That's our project finished, complete. Reset their light fixture, and ready for paint. So I hope you guys got something out of this video. And I'll try and get some more videos up, and if you wouldn't mind subscribing, we are trying to grow this channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.